Every second, the world changes, markets rise, leaders speak, stories unfold. To keep up, you don't just need news, you need clarity, you need speed, you need perspective.
That's why Aneke TV brings you the global pulse. Accurate, reliable, right when it matters most. Aneke TV, move with the world. Welcome back. You're still on Sunrise on Aneke TV. Now let's take a look at what's making the headlines across the newspapers in our nation today.
All right, we really apologize for that break in transmission. Those are due to technical issues beyond our control. And joining us this morning for the newspaper review is Gift Obodo. Miss Gift, a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, good morning. People of Nigeria, you guys are jammed for us this morning.
All right, let me ask my signature question. I know what that is. How is Nigeria treating you?
Nigeria is treating me with a lot of tension, like a lot of tension. I'm just, every day I wake up, I just anticipate for one new development.
You anticipate. It is in human nature to anticipate. But when one look at how you are shining, how beautiful you're looking this morning, one can but say that Nigeria is good.
Hey, Nigeria is good to people. It is good to actually.
All right. It's a pleasure to have you on Sunrise.
Thank you.
All right, so let's take a quick look at the newspapers. We have the Nation newspaper, we have Punch, we have Vanguard, Sun, and Daily Trust, and the Guardian newspaper. Now, in the Nation newspaper headline, we have Court kicks out PDP NWC. Court kicks out PDP NWC. Now we go over to the Punch, where we have businesses brace for inflation surge as petrol hits 1,300 naira per liter. Businesses brace for inflation surge as petrol hits 1,300 naira per liter. Now in the Vanguard, we have Middle East war. Hardship deepens with petrol selling at 1,300 naira per liter. Now we are checking the Guardian headline, which says oil rally retreats as Nigerians await pump price review. Oil rally retreats as Nigerians await pump price review. Then on the Sun newspaper, we have marketers project 2,000 naira fuel price. Markets lows as Dangote hikes petrol diesel to 1,175 and 1,620 naira. Then we have in the Daily Trust, why PDP may not be on the ballot. Why PDP may not be on the ballot. So this morning we're starting our newspaper review with the Daily Trust, which says why PDP may not be on the ballot. There are growing concerns that the People's Democratic Party PDP may face challenges that could prevent it from appearing on the ballot in 2027 elections. The issues are linked to internal party disputes, leadership conflicts, and possible legal complications regarding party structure and compliance with electoral regulations. If these problems are not resolved before the election period, it could affect the party's eligibility to participate in the 2027 polls, raising uncertainty among its members and supporters.
All right, so the Daily Trust, with that headline, is when you take a look at the PDP, where PDP emanated from, and this is cumulative of the judgment yesterday at the appellate court. Remember that PDP has been, bedridden with crisis all over. In fact, we keep speaking to the cracks in the PDP, which for a number of days and times, we say that this crack has gotten to the foundation. I know when a crack gets to the structure, to the foundation of a structure, you expect that very structure to cave in and fall. And I tell you, what we are looking at is trying, thinking on how and best possible way, if PDP will be revived from the comatose that is. A lot of analysts, look at PDP as a carcass of its old self, and it becomes worrisome that a party that was one time reputed to be the most dominant party in Africa, and Nigeria, Nigeria, when you come to Nigeria, the dominance is quite overwhelmed. I remember when they then, the then chairman of PDP did mention that yes, PDP is not just the biggest party in Africa, but will rule Nigeria for the next 60 years. And then seeing such a behemoth, becoming a carcass of his old self, leaves much to be desired. And when you look at the judgment yesterday at the appeal court, given the various faction that the PDP has been balkanized into. You know that there is the Wike faction and there is the Sheyi Makinde Turaki led faction. So this gives rise to a lot of animosities and fraction in the PDP, and over time the affairs in PDP has been taken over or litigated. I don't think there's any party in Nigeria has been well litigated like the PDP. And part of it is that yesterday we now saw, a judgment from the court appeal, which as many were expecting a judgment that perhaps may unify the party, while some of us, believe that whichever way this judgment will go, it may, factionalize and fracture the PDP the more. And this, appeal, has further, for me, complicated the issues in the PDP. The judgment delivered by Justice James Omotosho, Peter Lifau, and delivered by Justice Joyce Malik, went a long way, first of all, to say that the convention that brought about the committee, the chairmanship of Turaki, is null and void. That takes you to the crisis in the PDP, leading to when, and how that convention came about. You remember quite well that there were advertisements in not just the daily and national televisions, that the Wike faction were warning people against attending that convention that is illegal, against the law, and that people should rather avoid it. Then the Makinde faction went ahead, got a court order that allowed them go ahead to hold the convention. And that convention came about from the national convention, the National Working Committee led by Tamino Turaki emerged, and the court yesterday declared it null and void. And again, this judgment, why it became so complicated, is that the same judgment, the appellate court in his wisdom went ahead to rule that the suspension of Sam Anyanwu, the national secretary of the PDP, they upheld the suspension. You remember quite well that the then secretary of the PDP, Sam Anyanwu, was suspended with the national legal advisor Ajibade and the deputy national legal advisor Okechukwu Osoha. Right, they were all suspended and other persons. The court now went ahead to uphold, this suspension, giving room to a situation where we've gotten into, where we've seen the Makinde faction are threatening to go ahead to the Supreme Court. And when yesterday did grant interview, he was telling them that they are ready to pursue the issue to a logical conclusion, that by the time they get to the Supreme Court, they will be at the Supreme Court waiting for them. What does that tell you? A fractured PDP that is at this moment irreconcilable. Everybody is looking for avenue within the ambient of the court interpretation for them to have a locus to stand on to advance their own personal interest. Now, when you see the headlines like this, just like the same way the Nation newspaper carried it, if you go a little further in the Nation newspaper, they say court kicks out PDP National Working Committee. But the Daily Trust newspaper, for example, went further, to tell us that the PDP may not be on the ballot. And expectedly, the PDP, yes, may not be on the ballot, given this level of discord in the party, this level of fracture that they have in PDP. One was expecting that, former bedfellows speaking to the governor for your state and the FCT minister, Aneke, being members of the G5, that they will be able to, at this time, sit down, harmonize, and agree on a common front. We saw them, in their popular uniforms during the 2023 when they were wearing ashebis during the 2023 campaigns. So one would expect that there should be a semblance or a little semblance of honor among thieves, that they could, through back channel, harmonize their interests. But be that as it may, and looking at the headline, I tell you yes, because the way things are going, to me, it seems that the Wike-led faction are having upper hand. Wike has never for once hidden his position on where PDP stand and where he stand on issues, and he has come out publicly to say that he will be against anybody or organization that would want to contend or contest the position of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu come 2027, and he seems to be working out for him. And every roadblock so far seems to be the right roadblocks, the right wage, in front of PDP from being able to stand on his head or stand as a political party to, fight against the incumbent president come 2027. Now, what are the chances of PDP being able to litigate its way, and get a resolution, a common front from the Supreme Court? I tell you, that is as far as Akwa Ibom is from Sokoto. Yes, it may not be happening, it may not be Uhuru yet, and we do not see that Uhuru till the next general election. Going by the new INEC, position on this, the new position of the new electoral act 2026 and the timetable of INEC, then it now becomes more worrying to know that the PDP may not be able to litigate its way into reconciliation before this period. And what are we having? INEC has come out through its timetable to say that the party primaries reconciliation or dispute resolution would have to come between 23rd of April and 30th of May. Now, be that as it may, when you take into account this time frame, then it becomes a tall ask to see or believe that there will be reconciliation in the PDP for them to be able to meet the present timeline of INEC. So I, for one, I do not for any reason want to go against analysts or individuals who believe that the carcass that the PDP has become will not be revived before the 2027 election. But that is even more what is even more worrisome for me is that when a lot of individuals, when they look at the position of the FCT minister, they want to see him as a big stumbling block, one individual who is against development of democracy or the sustainability of democracy in Nigeria. But when you take a keener look at the issues, you now begin to ask yourself question: why is the FCT minister over time able to maneuver his co-travelers in the PDP, as the case may be? Why is it that usually whenever there is litigation, he finds a way to stay ahead? And that makes me to begin to look at it that more often than is advertised or seen, the FCT minister is always anchored from the position of the law on issues. And if politics is what it is, a game of outwitting one another, then one should expect that a party like the PDP, that has ruled this nation, that brandishes the likes of the intellectuals, political, sagacious intellectuals that we have had in this nation, that they should be able to outwit this one individual. But over time, the FCT minister seems to have held PDP by his jugular, that they are unable to wriggle themselves out. So one may want to advise that beyond litigations and perhaps when they get to Supreme Court, whatever interpretation that the Supreme Court may come up with, and if you follow trend of Supreme Court rulings on political matters over time, you may see that there is likelihood that this same judgment at the appellate court may be upheld, still watering the ground for inability of PDP to be in the ballot in 2027, giving room to a lot of defections that you're seeing around the PDP. If the people left in the PDP, for example, are most of them who want to either ensure that they are on the side of Wike to make sure that PDP is not a stumbling block against the incumbent who will be seeking re-election in 2027. But if one is to hazard advice to these, highly political heavyweights and players, one would advise that if it's possible for PDP to toe the path of reconciliation, let us sit down. What is the challenge here? What are the issues? I did mention, yes, Wike and the governor of Ekiti, they ate from the same table. They wore the same ashebi. They danced to the same tune. So one expects that by now they understand each other very well, that they can again sit on the tables, like Wike would want to put it, give to these people and give to the other people, and let's see if we can form a common front. But in all this, why I am quite agitated, whenever the issue of PDP comes up, why over time I decide not to discuss PDP, because I'm one of those who believe that the PDP has not been fair to the generality of Nigerians, and if I want to bring it a little bit home to especially the southeastern Nigeria that has given PDP everything. But I tell them, irrespective of every effort and what they are doing, because one expects that a party that the nation has given, many years, that they should be able to, when they find themselves as opposition, they should be able to offer a very, very opposition. They will have been, the focal point, the mouth of the general masses of Nigeria, especially when the economy is not moving as is expected. When the subsidy was removed, what was PDP? Where was PDP? When the economy is wearing a different look and not this consolidated information that we have that the economy is stabilizing, where was PDP? Have they been at a time you saw PDP present itself as a very good opposition? The answer is no. So a lot of people are justified to be disappointed in what PDP has become. And I am one of the people who do not see PDP rising from the ashes to emerge into a formidable force in 2027. I tell you one thing, if I am to hazard or forecast into the future, though I'm not a prophet, I tell you that the PDP will still be a carcass of itself, or a factionalized fraction of itself as we step into 2026 or 2027 election. You are going to see where factions will begin to align. I'm expecting to see a faction of the PDP, align with the coalition moving forward. If the coalition, is able to hold its own and stand its test. The coalition, I do not want to go there because they have not shown Nigerians that they are willing, for Nigerian people to trust them with their ballot. No. So one will see a situation where perhaps the Makindele faction may at the end of the day go into adopting the coalition as the vehicle for 2027, and where the Wike-led faction will continue to dance on the carcass and the graveside of what PDP has become at this moment. But be that as it may, either for those in the head of the factions, PDP has not done well for the Nigerian people. And I, for one, I do not see where the miracle will be coming from, despite the fact that, yes, we are too taught to believe that anything can happen overnight in politics, that these individuals can equally sit down and reconcile overnight. But given any miraculous happening, I do not see a PDP that will rise from its ashes to be in the ballot in 2027. Even if there is a reconciliation, moving forward, how would they be able to, get through to the electoral act? Remember, the new electoral act has stipulated modalities for you to be able to hold a congress, a convention, or primary. We are talking about direct primaries here, right?
Yes.
So how is PDP going to meet the new guidelines? When will they start party registration to have the digital registration of its members that they will present to Aneke to be able to hold a convention, 21 days before the actual date? The issue is getting to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court that is usually, given their schedule, is usually overloaded with litigation and issues to decide on, may, be able to throw this whole judgment perhaps to next year or towards the tail end of this year, giving room for PDP not to be able to meet the stipulated electoral as to be in the ballots in 2027. But I summarize by telling you that PDP has failed the Nigerian people.
All right, thank you very much. We go over to the next newspaper. That is on the Vanguard headlines, which says Middle East war, hardship deepens with petrol selling at 1,300 per liter. Hardship deepens with petrol selling at 1,300 naira per liter. The ongoing conflict in the Middle East has contributed to rising global oil prices, leading to an increase in petrol prices in Nigeria to about 1,300 naira per liter. The high cost of fuel is worsening economic hardship for many Nigerians as transportation, food and other essential goods become more expensive. Businesses and households are struggling to cope with the increased cost of living, while concerns grow over further inflation and economic pressure.
All right. We've spoken about this issue for quite a number of times, and usually when you look at an issue like this, talk about the crisis in the Middle East, one expects that there will be fallouts, from the whole issues. Now, looking at the issue in Middle East, I talk about the Israeli-US, Iran conflict, where that the Iran, is standing at an important position in terms of controlling the oil market in the world, and the crisis there has not been quite helpful in any way. Remember that the Strait of Hormuz, has been a focal point in this conflict. Who controls the Strait of Hormuz? The Iranians, over time, for the onset of this conflict, tried to block this strait to ensure that no oil tankers are able to navigate through the Strait of Hormuz. That's tiny strait that no oil tankers will be able to. And in fact, they did, use ships and oil tanks to block that strait to ensure that no country is able to move through, no oil tankers are able to export oil to any region in the world. In fact, from onset, the intention was to cause this crisis that we are witnessing. I bet the fact that from the onset, the US allied led an onslaught, and they did sink this whole ship. They were sunk at the Strait of Hormuz, even given, the leverage that we have. Despite that fact, one has seen that the price of Brent crude has continued to skyrocket over time. And what's the impact on Nigeria? When you look at the Nigerian market that is already deregulated, because at the inception of this administration, the first thing Mr. President did say when he took out of office was that subsidy is gone. With subsidy gone, one thing, another thing followed, the regulation of the market. And where you have the regulation, what happens? Market is controlled by international pricing, and we have a private refinery in Nigeria that accounts for the bulk of our consumption, apart from those coming from the marketers. The bulk of what we consume comes from Dangote refinery, and Dangote has come out publicly to tell us that they source from the international market, meaning that the consumption in Nigeria would be controlled by international pricing. And we've seen, despite the fact that the Nigerian budget was benchmarked at $64 something per barrel, you understand, the prices have gone way higher beyond that. In fact, as we speak yesterday, prices surged to around $119 to $120 before sliding down, to close at around to retreat at around $89 to $90 or something as at yesterday. Giving room that the fact that Nigeria will pay from their pockets, to be able to have fuel. And when you look at this situation, what happens? In Nigeria, you see, Premium Motor Spirits has a way of impacting every aspect of the Nigerian economy. Once the price of fuel goes up, next thing you expect is that the price of transport would go up eventually. So despite that, though, despite the fact that the high crude prices and the surge that we are seeing is putting immense pressure on the economy. When you look at the landing costs, of refined products, the prices analysts continue to forecast may continue to go higher. People are projecting that prices may get up to 2,000 naira, right? So, what you begin to look at the Nigerian market, this market, will be impacted in no small way. So when the headline is telling you that hardship, deepens, yes, one needs to believe that, and it's obvious. How was the price of petroleum in the gas stations this morning? You look at the petroleum prices, we are speculating at 1.3. I tell you, in some areas it's selling up to 1.5, 1.4 this morning before we were able to navigate. And what will happen? You see, transporters will now increase prices in a nation that is already suffering from shortage of food supply due to the security challenges that we are witnessing. Then giving increment in transportation, then wow, that the price of goods, the price of consumables will now begin to go up. And when you look at this, look at the area of importation, because Nigeria is a nation that is very well dependent on importation of some consumables to Nigeria. So the price would equally go high due to shipping costs, and that is now threatened by the escalation in the Middle East. So it's expected that the price of things will be high. Expect food prices to go up. Expect the price of logistics to be high. So in no small way, this is going to impact Nigeria. Using the word hardship, I think the Vanguard newspaper encapsulates this and capture the situation well, because there will be an increasing hardship. While the Nigerian government may be happy and smiling to an increment in our foreign reserve as a result of the appreciation of Brent crude to 90 something to $100. While we are at it, the ripple effect begins to tell on the ordinary man on the street, who are already complaining that they are unable, may not be able to fend for themselves, who out of pocket, be able to pay and buy fuel and pay for the cost of transportation, look to be able to afford the high cost food prices in the market from their pocket. So the issues here would be, there'll be multiplier effects on the Nigerian state. One may not be able to exhaust the ripple effects that would come and happen in Nigeria given from this conflict in the Middle East. There are a whole lot of issues if one begin to analyze, one after the other. But be that as it may, yes, I tell you that those from the inner cities, those from the hinterlands would equally be impacted. The cost of food production is already high in Nigeria, and given this situation, they will continue to increase astronomically, especially given that some communities in Nigeria are unable to access their farmlands. Some are able to, some pay tributary to be able to even access their farmland and be able to harvest. So when you sum these whole together, the Nigerian state, will be shaking if this conflict in the Middle East is not resolved in no time. Yes. But it's a very sorry state that we're in, because it now begins to tell you that the Nigerian economy is so fragile that it can be controlled by outside influence on happenings outside this nation, which is why over time we'll continue to speak to why we need to have structures in place. We need to have an stability in our system, especially from the area of security, because I tell you one thing: if you do not have a stable security, you may not be able to attract foreign direct investment, and even the local investment you have around, you now begin to experience what you see called capital flight from the economy, and that in itself is equally as devastating as the hardship that is being created and orchestrated by this crisis in the Middle East.
All right, thank you very much for that. We'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll continue with the newspaper headline. Stay tuned.
Every second, the world changes, markets rise, leaders speak, stories unfold. To keep up, you don't just need news, You need clarity. You need speed. You need perspective.
That's why Aneke TV brings you the global pulse. Accurate, reliable, right when it matters most. Aneke TV. Move with the world. You're welcome back to Sunrise on Aneke TV, and we'll continue with our newspaper headlines. And we're going over to Punch, where we are having U.S. warns citizens of fresh terror threats in Nigeria. It's just there in the newspaper headline, in the front page of the newspaper. U.S. warns citizens of fresh terror threat in Nigeria. And the United States government has issued a fresh security alert to its citizens in Nigeria, warning of a possible terrorist threat targeting American facilities and U.S. affiliated schools in the country. The warning was released by the U.S. Embassy in Abuja, advising American citizens to remain vigilant and take extra safety precautions when visiting the U.S. Embassy, the U.S. Consulate in Lagos, and institutions linked to the United States. Yes.
All right. Anyway, looking at this is not the first time the U.S. are issuing, warnings to their citizens over terror-related issues. But before I comment on this, Ms. Gift, are you surprised?
I'm not surprised because I think I've talked about this over and over again that we Nigerians, yes, in as much as the US is always alerting the citizens. Okay, it was I think 4 weeks ago we were also referring to Nigerians being taken away or from the Middle East crisis, those places they are actually in. But this now aligns with what I'm saying, that US have a way of protecting their own, and I think Nigerians should do more, imitate this thing, because if actually these necessary precautions are taken, I think this crisis will not escalate to this point. And also this I read in the news where Iran is trying to say they want to protect or help us fight terrorism. I find it as a big joke in this country, because you are suffering from your own calamity and you are trying to help someone that is not even in that big area calamity. So I don't know, this our country and a lot of things happening in the global world today is just as a result of misunderstanding and exploration of some things.
All right. Let's get your opinion on this, Mr. Goodhope.
Okay, adding to what she said about the whole alerts given to U.S. citizens in Nigeria from their embassy, it shows you that these people are taking their own people to, they are being intentional with their people.
Yeah.
Of course, it's just around the same issue, the Middle East tension, how they are trying to protect them in case, because of also the Shiites group movement and every other thing that has been going on. So they should be careful looking at them being the first target of terrorist attacks or attacks just here in Nigeria. So now also I will draw this around the news we had last week about setting of the consulate in Nigeria, the Nigerian consulate to Iran, and those Middle East people have not been able to, saying that they were not, nobody has called them to come to, take them away from the city or evacuate them like other countries are doing. Now, something similar I saw on social media, which I want to bring. A lady was made a post saying that other countries are coming to take their people, while Nigerians are not still being taken. And also in that regards, you see that we need to we are encouraging our government. They are doing a lot, of course, having security challenges, and the issues we are having now is a lot as a government, but they are moving at the right direction, I believe. But what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, we should be more intentional with our people. The US looking at their way, their modus operandi, how they are giving their people updates on, in case you are here, be careful, this. It tells you that this country have their citizens at heart. We're encouraging our Nigerian government to also do same thing and ensure that we have safe citizen protection. Yes.
All right. That's quite well said. Looking at the situation where US is warning their citizens of fresh terror threats in Nigeria speaks to intelligence gathering. When the US come out to begin to warn its citizens, Nigerians should take a cue, because one thing is that this warning comes out and is born from intelligence gathering information. It means that the US have access and have acquired information of a possible threat attack. why one may not be able to speak to places that may be mapped out for this threat attack, leading to why they are warning their citizens, especially that is to check their movements and their goings. And part of the warning, they even went as far as telling their nationals in Nigeria to disguise when they are coming to the US embassy. They shouldn't, use the usual route, and when they are leaving, they should make sure to detour to a different route. Speaking to a whole lot of a new security threat in Nigeria. And this is why we need to be even more cautious as a people that a new brand of insurgency or terrorism does not arise in Nigeria given or from the situation in the Middle East. Because looking at the protest that we've seen in Nigeria heralding this conflict in Iran, then one may not be far-fetched to hazard a guess that there is a possible linkage to this new security alert that is emerging from the protest that we've witnessed in Nigeria, by the Islamic movement in Nigeria, to register their anger against the government of the United States. And doing that in Nigeria puts and casts Nigeria in a very bad light. We are already confronting a whole lot of security issues. Speaking to kidnapping in Nigeria kidnapping for ransom. Speaking to many communities that has been sacked, Nigerians that are in IGP camp when Nigeria is not at war. Speaking to a whole lot of issues about farmers who cannot go to farm. So it may not be, very palatable to see a newborn of a different dimension of insurgency, especially that will be, that will be, attached or attacking of U.S. installments in Nigeria. It brings a different dimension to this whole issue of insecurity in Nigeria and may not paint the country in a good light. So what I advise here is that the Nigerian government and the U.S. counterpart should be able to exchange intelligence, and we'll see that we'll nip this situation on the bud, before it gets to a level where we may not be able to contend or control it, just like we're seeing the situations in North Central, Northeast, and Northwest and parts of Nigeria as we speak. But one should expect that the collaboration between Nigeria and the US should be beyond the intelligence gathering, be able to, at this point, be, giving indicators of visible, success against the insurgents. But what we're witnessing is that the insurgents are becoming more emboldened in their action. But be that as it may, one hopes that the Nigerian government and their collaborators, the US government, are on top of this issue. And then speaking to the other news that we heard, where Iran, is offering to help Nigeria, to help Nigeria fight terrorism, it makes the situation more, laughable. That a country that is known for terrorism, a country that is involved in conflict, that is at this hour and at this point offering to assist Nigeria in combating terrorism. And one needs to be very, very, very careful to the things we see as joke, happening around us. If a country like Iran at this point in time is offering to assist Nigeria combat, terrorism, it tells you that all is not well. All is not well in Nigeria. That a sick nation like Iran, because I use the word sick, because at this point in time they are sick, they need help themselves.
Yes.
Offering to give us help, especially in combating terrorism, it leaves much to be desired.
Yes. All right, thank you very much on that. Here we round up today's newspaper headlines, and we are moving straight to sports and to see what it is in the world of sports. Well, Osimhen Lookman battle, Liverpool Tottenham UCL round of 16, and we're still looking at Klopp may return for second Liverpool spell. And today is Champions League. Let me just give you the fixtures so that you can watch it tonight. Galatasaray will play against Liverpool, and Atletico Madrid will play against Spurs, and Atlanta will play against Bayern Munich, and Newcastle will play against Barcelona. Then we have in the news that Kane returns to training for Ladia clash. And just in a neck of time, we're having portable fire scatter warning ahead of boxing clash. I'm sure that this will be one of the things we're going to see, and this is the Champions League fixture. This is where we are going to wrap it up here on Sports and Sunrise on Aneke TV. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for that in-depth analysis, and Ms. Good Gift Obodo, thank you for your input.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for waking up with us. Thank you very much for being there with us. Same time, same station tomorrow here on Aneke TV, having you and taking you through the sunrise and things you need to know. I'm Good Hope Chukuma.
And I'm Uche Osai. Till we come your way same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Security is not just police on patrol. It is safety in homes, schools, markets, and mines. Without it, progress is impossible. Be alert, report danger, support community watch. True security is collective responsibility.
Every second, the world changes, markets rise, leaders speak, stories unfold. To keep up, you don't just need news, you need clarity, you need speed, you need perspective.
That's why Aneke TV brings you the global pulse. Accurate, reliable, right when it matters most. Aneke TV. Move with the world.
Nigeria's march towards the 2027 general elections is more than a routine democratic cycle. It is shaping up to be a defining test of institutional maturity, political culture, and national cohesion. Elections in Nigeria have historically served as mirrors reflecting both progress and persistent fault lines. As political actors reposition and citizens recalibrate expectations, the stakes are unmistakably high. The 2027 will not simply be about leadership transition, it will be about whether Africa's most populous nation can consolidate democratic credibility, deepen governance accountability, and manage intensifying socio-economic pressures without destabilizing its fragile political equilibrium. Public expectations heading into 2027 are likely to be unusually elevated, driven less by campaign rhetoric and more by lived realities. Chief among these is the demand for economic stability and opportunity. Inflationary pressures, currency volatility, unemployment, and cost of living anxieties have reshaped political consciousness. Voters increasingly assess government not by ideological narratives but by tangible economic outcomes, jobs, purchasing power, infrastructure, and social mobility. There is also a growing insistence on governance effectiveness. Citizens are showing declining tolerance for symbolic politics. Competence, policy cohesion, and measurable results across security, healthcare, education, and public services now weigh heavily in electoral judgment. Electoral integrity, too, has become central. After reforms introduced by the Electoral Act 2022 and the deployment of technologies such as beavers, Nigerians expect elections that are transparent, technologically reliable, and free from manipulation. The bar has been raised, and any regression could provoke significant public backlash. Equally important is the demand for accountability and trust restoration. The widening gap between political elites and ordinary citizens continues to fuel skepticism. Consequently, the 2027 elections will be judged not only on who wins, but on whether democratic processes are widely perceived as fair, inclusive, and credible. Several issues are poised to shape the contest. Economic performance will dominate political discourse, with debates likely to revolve around fiscal management, debt sustainability, industrialization, youth employment, and diversification beyond oil dependency. Security will remain an existential concern. Persistent challenges ranging from insurgency to criminal violence have placed state authority under strain, compelling voters to scrutinize strategies for restoring stability and strengthening institutional capacity. Nigeria's demographic realities further complicate the landscape. The youth population, increasingly digitally connected and potentially and politically expressive, is defining electoral engagement. Political parties that fail to adapt to issue-driven, technology-mediated mobilization risk strategic disadvantage. Questions surrounding federalism, restructuring, and resource governance will also continue to animate debate, reflecting enduring tensions within Nigeria's political architecture. Underlining these dynamics are structural challenges. Despite technological improvements, skepticism regarding result collection, judicial outcomes, and political interference persists. Perception gaps can be as destabilizing as actual irregularities. The influence of money in politics remains deeply corrosive, while identity-based polarization continues to shape electoral alignments, sometimes transforming competition into conflict. Technology itself presents a paradox. While enhancing transparency, it introduces vulnerabilities, system failures, cybersecurity threats, and the rapid spread of misinformation. Meanwhile, the increasing judicialization of elections, though constitutionally grounded, can erode public confidence if perceived as inconsistent or politicized. Voter apathy, driven by cynicism and distrust, poses an additional threat to participatory legitimacy. Strengthening democratic resilience requires a multi-layered response. Electoral credibility depends fundamentally on institutional dependence, transparency, and operational reliability. Campaign finance enforcement must become more robust to curb undue influence. Electoral technologies require continuous auditing and safeguards to sustain trust. Equally vital is the cultivation of an issue-based political culture, supported by civil society, media, and academia. Ultimately, democratic stability rests heavily on elite behavior. Commitment to peaceful competition, respect for institutional rules, and restraint in rhetoric are indispensable. Elections alone do not validate democracy. Credibility of processes, integrity of institutions, and confidence of citizens do. Nigeria's 2027 elections will unfold within a complex interplay of economic pressures, demographic shifts, technological transitions, and political recalibration. They will test whether reforms translate into trust, whether competition strengthens rather than fractures national unity, and whether governance outcomes reshape political legitimacy. As Nigeria advances towards 2027, the defining question is no longer whether elections will hold. It is whether they will deepen democratic resilience, reinforce national stability, and align political leadership more closely with citizen aspirations. The answer will shape not just an electoral outcome, but the country's democratic trajectory.
Need ad replacements, coverage for events, or the latest news stories? Call 070-3043-7110 right now. Aneke TV, move with the world. Across Nigeria, a powerful migration wave is reshaping the nation's economic and social landscape, popularly known as Japa. The term captures the growing number of young professionals and skilled workers living in search of stability, opportunity, and systems that function. But beyond the emotional stories lies a deeper economic reality, one that demands urgent and practical solutions.
Hello, Love you. Bye-bye.
One of the most visible impacts is the loss of skilled labor. Nigeria invests heavily in training doctors, nurses, lecturers, engineers, and technology professionals. Yet, many of them are building their careers abroad, drawn by better pay, safer working environments, and clearer professional pathways. Hospitals become overstretched. Universities lose experienced lecturers. Industries struggle to find qualified hands. Productivity declines, and long-term development slows as the country loses both talent and the economic value they would have created. Migration also places pressure on the broader economy. Relocation expenses from tuition and visa fees to travel costs increase demand for foreign exchange, adding strain to the naira. A weaker currency raises the cost of imports, fuels inflation, and worsens the cost of living crisis. More Nigerians begin to consider leaving, creating a difficult cycle. Yet, the story is not one-sided. The Nigerian diaspora provides a vital economic cushion. Billions of dollars in remittances flow into the country each year, helping families pay for school fees, healthcare, housing, and daily needs. These inflows support household survival and contribute to foreign exchange earnings. But remittances cannot replace strong institutions, public infrastructure, or large-scale job creation. They help families cope, but they do not solve the structural challenges driving migration. The drivers of Japa are rooted in everyday realities. High unemployment and underemployment limit opportunities for young people to use their skills. Wages often fail to keep pace with rising costs of living. Infrastructural gaps, especially unreliable electricity, increase the cost of doing business and discourage investment. Insecurity and policy inconsistency further weaken confidence in building long-term futures at home. Reversing the trend begins with practical reforms that make staying in Nigeria a viable and attractive choice. Improving power supply, transport networks, and digital infrastructure can reduce business costs and unlock growth. When businesses thrive, they create jobs, expand industries, and provide opportunities for skilled professionals. Strategic investment in high-impact sectors is equally critical. Strengthening healthcare, modernizing education, supporting technology innovation, and boosting manufacturing can create meaningful career pathways. These sectors not only absorb skilled labor, but also drive productivity and economic diversification. Retention strategies in essential services must also improve. Competitive pay, safer work environments, modern equipment, and clear professional development pathways can help reduce the outflow of healthcare workers and academics. Support for research, training, and career progression strengthens institutions and gives professionals reasons to stay. Entrepreneurship offers another path forward: better access to finance, fewer regulatory bottlenecks, and stronger support for small businesses can empower young Nigerians to build at home. A vibrant startup ecosystem turns job seekers into job creators and keeps innovation within the country. The diaspora can also become a strategic partner in development. Beyond remittances, Nigerians abroad bring skills, networks, and investment capital. Structured programs that encourage mentorship, knowledge transfer, and diaspora investment can transform brain drain into brain circulation when talent flows out and backing, strengthening both sides. At the center of all solution is trust, transparent governance, consistent policies, and visible improvements in public services rebuild confidence in national institutions. When people see progress in infrastructure, security, and economic management, the incentive to build a future at home grows stronger. Migration will always be part of a globalized world. The goal is not to stop movement, but to ensure it becomes a matter of choice, not necessity. By creating opportunities at home, valuing talent, and engaging citizens abroad as partners, Nigeria can turn the challenge of Japa into a pathway for renewal, resilience, and inclusive growth.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on The Insight. Today, we'll take a unique approach into examining the happenings in Nigeria. As Nigeria approaches the 2027 general election, there is growing concern that the country is quietly shifting towards a one-party state dominated by the All Progressive Congress, APC. Recent high-profile defections, including governors from Enugu and Bayelsa states, the ruling party have intensified fears of diminishing opposition and political competition. Criticism and critics warn this trend threatens Nigeria's democracy, stifles dissent, and risks slipping into authoritarianism. Supporters argue these shifts reflect a collective confidence in APC's leadership. Today, we'll explore the implication of this political consolidation for Nigeria's democratic future, governance, and the voice of its diverse people by seeking answers to Nigeria's quiet shift. Is one-party rule taking hold? And helping us to find answers and x-ray on these issues is Professor J.C. Chukwuokolo, a professor of philosophy and philosophy of development from Ebonyi State University, Abakaliki. Prof, thank you for coming on The Insight.
Thank you. Good morning, and our audience, we appreciate you.
All right. Prof, let's just go straight to it for want of time. You know, with APC now controlling more states and winning many off-season elections, is Nigeria quietly becoming a one-party state?
Let me start by looking at the essence of political parties all over the world. Political parties are supposed to be ideological, an amalgamation of people seeking to advance a certain ideological base once they win election. Unfortunately, you see, what is obtainable in Nigeria is not that. What is obtainable here is interests that a few people have, some people have, in order to win election and get the perks of office. And that's exactly what we have been seeing. Unfortunately, also, because of it, and because of the apparent lack of ideology, you can never look at a political party in Nigeria as they are supposed to be. So parties don't, yeah, they have those writings in their books, but those who manage them do not show very serious commitment to ideologies. If you draw contrasts with the American system, where we have decided to anchor our system in the presidentialism, you will find out that they have two major political parties. Not that they don't have others, but those two major political parties are ideologically based. That's why you can hear that somebody has been in this party for over 30 years. He's still in the party because that's where his ideology aligns. Now, when you come to Nigeria, my major concern is, do we even have, how many political parties do we have? one in the ab initio, because what it may be, all these people you are seeing in APC, 90% of them were in PDP when PDP held sway. If for any reason now Labour starts holding sway, all of them will get into it. So that is the challenge. So I think what we should look at first of all is the ideological concern. So if the ideological concerns are raised up, and which I think the youths, I challenge them to get involved. Not this issue of where do I stay to get the national cake. If we don't get to that point, I have nothing to say about this drift we are talking about to a one-party state, because we have always been.
Okay, we've always been a one-party state.
In the sense of no ideology. I mean, all the ideology is the same thing.
Okay.
The only thing is that we have different camps.
Okay. So we are safe to say that these are different camps in the quest for national cake.
Cake, simple.
Okay. But, Prof, going forward, I would want to know, when can we really say that political dominance has crossed into the line of dictatorship?
Well, when it happens, what we are seeing from 2015 up to today has every tendency of dictatorship, because when people fail to obey the laws, the only difference between dictatorship and democracy is the rule of law. So if people fail to allow their constitutions to dictate what happens, then forget about it. So I think that from that time up to now, we are gradually getting to its crescendo, where people will decide to do whatever they like. Look at what happened in Rivers State. Unfortunately or fortunately, the vice president, in the launch of the book of the former Attorney General Aneke, I think God forced him to say what he was saying, or what he said, that we had the challenge that when he was governor of Borno State, that the then sitting president wanted to remove him from office the way Tinubu removed Sim Fubara. But that the Attorney General insisted that the president didn't have that powers to do that. So Jonathan obeyed the law when the Attorney General advised him. But what is happening today? Whenever you want anything you feel, you see, they will do it. And unfortunately, it is so appalling that where we are, the leaders, so to say, we decide anything they like once they can enforce it. And that's why people have brought this new concept of state capture, in our lexicon now, that the current people have captured, it has done what they call state capture. So now, any situation, if we don't have, the point I'm making is that if we don't obey our laws, no matter the guys, we're in dictatorship.
Okay. Yes. Well, can we rightfully say that presently what we are witnessing, not just dictatorship at the center, but a dictatorship of the majority?
No. Well, it's the majority. It's a few people taking over what is going on. How many of us are involved in this? Abraham Lincoln, when he defined democracy as the government of the people, for the people, and by the people, he meant that we all should get involved. Let me ask you, I don't know, but that's my own view. And El-Rufai, who was part of that election, El-Rufai, who was part of it, came on air the other time to say that 2023 election, P2B won. If we cannot come to a point in any society where the citizens determine who rule them, forget about it. There's no, you are not practicing democracy.
Okay.
Because except you determine, I don't have problem if you become if I vote you in, if majority of the people, because I'm talking of majoritarianism as you are talking, if all of us, if we cannot determine who becomes our president, governor, or our politicians, I mean, House of every elected position, so if we can't determine that by the dint of hard work of the votes of the people, then there is nothing majority is saying about it. It's only a few that determine who gets what, where, and how. But if we do it, you might put you into power and you decide to become more than us. We leave you and wait for you during the next election, where the institution is like that. But where it is not like that, I don't think there is any need to use the word majoritarianism or majoritarian rule. Not at all.
All right. Prof, I know you've spoken to lack of ideologies and that we should rather face, the emphasis should be on having a system or a structure that would let the people's votes, mindset, and mandates count. Now, but I want to know your view, given that that's the wave in Nigeria today. In the news today, we've heard that Governor Doedri of Bayelsa State has resigned from the PDP, though he has not mentioned where in particular he will be moving. In Rivers State, there are feelers that the governor of Rivers State, Governor Sim Fubara, will equally soon toe the line of moving to APC. In Enugu State, is already a celebration of the governor and all the elected and appointees moving over to APC. There are feelers when you move up north that the governor of Taraba State, Governor Abu Kefas, is warming up with the governor of Plateau. Moving over to Kano, Kano is not equally left behind. So when you traverse across the federation, it's all moves to go into the ruling APC. And Prof, I want to get your honest and in-depth review of these movements, of these defections from the APC, from the PDP to the APC.
I don't have, it's only that maybe you people don't understand Nigerian politicians. I have nothing, it's not surprising to me. To start with, what happened in Rivers State was a pointer to the fact that a lord is in charge of the manor. And politicians, the only thing they do is that they're interested in winning elections. And that is their destiny in Nigeria. So don't blame anybody who is moving from one political party to another. The essence of it is that the reason is I have seen somewhere that I'm going to stay to win election. And so he goes to that place. It gets back to what I said, that there is lack of ideology. Must you win? If you are ideologically based, what you will want to do is, I want to stay and be able to ensure that this is what I want to do for my people, based on the political party that can help me curry those ideological bias. But you see, when you are interested in that you must win election, so any place and opportunity you see that you can go, you go to it, especially when it appears that what politicians are in for in Nigeria is to win. So don't blame anybody. What they have seen, you have not seen it. They understand that the forces are against, the odds are against them. Some people are alleging that the ruling party has captured every other person. And I recall the immediate past chairman of the party, Ganduje. Ganduje was very clear in one of his statements that soon everybody will join APC. They want a one-party state. But I have no problem with that. Let them try. It may even, who knows, be better for the masses. Because when all of them are in one basket, there's this thing they normally tell us that if you put Is this soldier ant or the other one inside one place? No, but if you shake it somehow, there will be katakata. So when they get to that place and the same interests, vaulting interests, start clashing, we will see how they will tear themselves again. But I don't know. I also feel that the Nigerian citizenry is not doing enough.
Okay.
Because we have, all of us own a patrimony. And less than 1% of the people are taking the thing, and we are looking at them complaining. Do you know how hard things are in this country? And every other day you read that things are getting better. I normally doubt. How do you see, what are the indices that things are getting better? Look at as it is, quietly, Nigerian academics have down to, since 2009, they have been discussing with governments on how to, there was an agreement in 2009, and since that time up to today, nothing has happened, no review, nothing. And you can see the vehemence with which federal government reacts when ASU says it wants to down its tools. 1 week is almost gone now. What you have seen is threats. What will this threat do? You know, what will it do? And the points are very clear that the Nigerian universities are no longer competitive. If you see, most people who are still here are people who either they love this country or they don't have means of living. Otherwise, small universities outside Nigeria here, what they pay, Nigeria is the least paid university in the whole of Africa. So where are the indices? Government, I'm not saying Tinubu started everything.
Yes.
I'm not saying so. But government is a cumulative effort. You must take the assets and liabilities. So when you have met some things, you should brace up to do things. Do we see these commitments? I don't think we do. So Nigerians are left with the point or the option of saying enough is enough. I have seen a lot of people, as small as lecturers are, everybody knows that we are not paid properly. I don't think there is any professor, even professor at the bar, collects up to 550,000. I don't think so. There is any. Yet people think because you are, and you know what it takes to get to that point. A lot of years. You can't do it in less than 10 years after you have got to your PhD. You know. Now, if you are lucky, you got it through that point, how are you going to survive with your people? Yet, people, that's why when we were smaller, I know that at the University of Nigeria those days, we had some foreign people who were lecturers. I doubt whether there is any Nigerian university you can get foreign people these days because it's no longer competitive. The point I'm making is that we, the citizens, should change our style, because if you have something in common with somebody and that person decides to be taking it alone and you leave him, it will continue. But if you say enough is enough, see what happened during that NSAS period. Even though that it was infiltrated, there was, it helped in some reforms. Immediately, SARS was disbanded, and it was then we started hearing of all kinds of things that people passed through, you know, during that their ignoble regime. So the point I'm making is we must, as a matter of urgency, decide. There's this proverb in Igbo that if a young man who is a bachelor does not behave in a mad way, the kindred will not insist that he gets married. So if we don't become very serious in terms of what is difficult in these things, we have enough resources. Mauritius here is a very organized economy. What do they have? Only sugarcane. But there's nothing God didn't bless Nigeria with. It's only management. Why is it that we have decided, as our leaders have decided, that things will continue to go down, nosedive. If we're able to get the electioneering process correct, we'll get every other thing correct in our democracy. I say this because if we have the powers to remove our leaders after every 4 years, you will see that anybody who gets into power will do better. That is why any place that you see a governor being elected by the state, that state performs well. Look at Abia State. Abia looked like there were costs, but today, I don't know whether I've ever gone to Abia. Of course, you're a journalist, you know what is going on. So you will see that that area, a lot of things are changing. I'm not saying it is Uhuru yet, but you see that this man knows that he is with the people, and the people voted him, that if he doesn't do well, he will get into trouble. He is doing a lot very well. So that's the way I look at these things.
Prof, to digress a bit, while we were talking, you mentioned that the citizens are not doing enough. Yes, the SARS protests and all that ended the way it ended. And I know that may not be the line to toe. But in your opinion, what should the Nigerian citizens do categorically to engineer the kind of civil change that we need?
You see, I know enough world history to know that monarchy, for instance, Europe had a lot of monarchical system. France, for instance, they were dealing with their people because monarchs are absolutists. So they declare what they want and they do it. But at a point, things got so bad that the citizens came up and said, no, enough is enough. And that was how monarchy ended. So what Charlemagne, I think Charlemagne was the last monarch. He was in charge of what they call the Carolingian Renaissance. But at a point, the people felt this thing wouldn't work, and they came out. The unfortunate thing is that there will be bloodshed, though, because government has police, they have army, they have all these instruments of coercion. They have. And they will resist, because if you are enjoying something you feel is a privilege and somebody wants to remove you from it, you will certainly resist. But if the people understand it very well and say, look at what we want, it can happen. It happened both in France, it happened in Britain, it happened in a lot of places. Even America we are talking of together today. America at a stage had what they call the 100-year war or something. And after it, the 12 colonies came and said, look, enough is enough. And they decided sincerely on how they will go ahead. Ours is that people fail to sincerely do their things. They keep manipulating in a way, but because they know that we are not, the citizens are not organized. If the citizens become organized, the office of the citizen is bigger than that of the president. Yes, because the citizens, let's assume we have 1 million soldiers, and we have over 200 million Nigerians, and the citizens come out to protest. I didn't say violent protest, just come out to protest. Okay, let's assume that all the people living in this Obiago, Abakwe, Enugu here come out. What do you think the soldiers will do? You keep shooting until you get tired. I don't know whether you understand. That's one. Two, These people, the soldiers, the police, the paramilitary people, they don't go to different markets than we do. They feel what we feel. I know when it happened in Egypt, when the revolution happened, it was NASA who organized that one. Even the people were saying, oh, the soldiers were even saying, if it is NASA that said we should do it, we'll do it. You will see that kind of thing because they know that the markets, they also go to the same market, they take the same transportation and all these things. The hardship is on everybody, but nothing has happened. So the citizens should first of all organize themselves. And like I said, if you are doing this organization, I think it was Karl Marx who said that the tree of liberty will be watered by the blood of tyrants. What it means is that you can't get liberty without people resisting. And if they resist, there's a point where it will get to those who are resisting, the citizens will outweigh them. And I also know that, look at what happened, even recently, the one that happened in
Nepal?
No, this one that, this president that ran to Russia from this Arab, why am I forgetting? He had the issue with Assad.
Okay, Assad.
You see, Assad, the pressure became, Syria, the pressure became more. He ran away. So if the people can say, if we're sincere, that we want this country to get better. Do you know the insult our people are receiving now in Ghana? Me, when we were small in the mid-80s, you know this bag? Ghanaians were everywhere here in Enugu because their country was not working until this guy came, J.J. Rawlings, had decided to carry out the revolution he did and set the foundation. And Ghanaians started moving back. How many Ghanaians do you still have in Nigeria now? How many? It's Nigerians that are getting to that place. So I'm saying that it is a trite history that we know. And it's not something that is too difficult. It's only commitment, if we are committed. And there's something I read, somebody was saying in TV the other day, that Nigerians are so divided along ethnic and religious lines such that they cannot come together. But I know it's not true. Those things are just because this 2023 election, I was surprised with the outcome. The whole of Middle Belt, no matter how you try to see it, the votes that came from the Middle Belt, those things, even Lagos, every other place, even Kano, the thing surprised me that religion did not play a lot of roles in that, even ethnicity, because Nigerians are getting to a point where they understand that these gimmicks can no longer work for them.
All right, Prof. But beyond the revolution way, can't we be able to achieve that through the ballot as citizens?
It appears you don't understand me. I am talking of revolution by ballot. I'm not talking of any other kind of thing. But the people must know that you will resist if they insist that they give you who you didn't vote for.
Okay.
So that's the point. The major thing in any democracy is the ballot. But the point now is that, like Stalin will say, that those who matter in most cases are those who count the votes. So if you do not come to a point where those who count the votes will understand the implications of counting wrongly, then they will keep counting it the way they like. Come to think of it, if you were this man that Tinubu has nominated, Amopita, as Aneke boss, if you were him, somebody appointed you and is giving you the whole protections where we cannot, the citizens cannot give to you, and is giving you a lot of money, it will be difficult for you to work for the people. So the point I'm making is that I think it is flawed that the president should be appointing INEC leadership.
Okay.
Can't we find means of... So when you are talking of ballot revolution, how can you do that when the people determine who, I mean, the leader, the president determines who gets into that position? It will be difficult. But if there are transparent other means of getting such people, where power should lie, if sovereignty lies on the people, power lies on the people, then you will see that such a person will not do the bidding. But see, the president gives them money they used to work, gives them security, and they think that it will. The structure is such that it will be as it is.
All right.
So we have to engage on that structural change.
Okay. All right, Prof. One may want to believe that what happened in 2015 may not be able to happen again, where the opposition was able to move the ruling party away.
We're all adults in this country. What did the opposition do? America, Britain came here and removed Jonathan. Is it not clear to everybody? By that time, you saw that the army were there in Ghana, were there in the north, and in the border countries. That morning, by 11, the American ambassador was already saying that, by that time I've not voted, but by that 11 a.m. they were saying they saw this, and they were threatening Jonathan. They would do this, they would do that. So, and if you have read Jonathan's book, you understand what happened. So let's forget about it. Imagine where Zeroid, who was Obama's chief strategist and campaigner, was in Nigeria, coordinating those things. Can you do that in their own country? So forget about it. We know what happened at that time, and we shouldn't waste our time that they can. If they don't add their own strength, it will not happen.
Okay. Prof, but with the fractured opposition, leadership crisis, and defections across opposition political parties, can Nigerians expect a genuine political competition in 2027?
Where the opposition, the main opposition, like I said before, will be intra-party opposition.
Okay.
So, because that's what has even led to all these defections. So it will come. Right. If the opposition, if we have viral, strong intra-party opposition, it will come. So that's my own way of looking at that. Right. Because, like I said, the whole political parties, we have the issue of word, but the only thing is that they have camps. And they have different names. One in terms of ideology.
Okay. On that note, Prof, we'll go on a short break. And when we return, we'll continue to x-ray these issues. Thank you for staying with us. And we've been x-raying the Nigeria's quiet shift. We're asking the question, is Nigeria becoming a one-party rule? And with us x-raying these issues is Professor J. Chidozie Chukwuokolo, Professor of Philosophy and Philosophy of Development, Ebonyi State University. Prof, let's bring it home to Enugu State. On Tuesday, we saw the governor, all the elected officials and appointees of the governor leaving PDP for the APC. Now, I want to ask, what is the implication of this exit? What does it signal for the Southeast? You know, Southeast has been the stronghold of the PDP over the years, and with the exit of Enugu State, which is the last man standing, what do you see as the implication of this for Southeast and the future identity of Southeast politically?
Well, I'm not a politician, but I have very strong political interest in the sense that I'm an observer, a very serious one. Let me even ask, what did Southeast gain from PDP in the first instance? Except that those who were there became billionaires of their own with very minimal benefit from our people as a people. So it gets back to what I have said before, that there is no political ideology, and you don't blame Governor Mbah. If you are looking at the point that if you stay where you are, you won't get second tenure, why not change ship? I think that's what has happened. PDP has become, have been captured by the The editors of APC in Southeast are saying that why they moved to APC is to position themselves so that one day they will become president. Who knows? But I know that there will be internal contradiction also that will dialectically dismember them. They will start looking for other political parties to stay. That's what they do.
All right. Prof, you know, why you were talking, you said until a Southeasterner becomes a president, and they should. Now, one now begins to recall the words of a former president that he would face those that gave him majority of the votes, speaking to our late President Muhammadu Buhari. And then, during the build-up to the 2023 election, we heard the president say, bread that will be soaked in tea, meaning that he will face where the votes come from, and if you do not vote, they will only compensate you with a slice of bread soaked in tea. But one would assume that with the alignment from the East now, that perhaps that could see a push for those votes to go to APC and engineer development.
I have told you that here, let me make it clear. In Nigeria here, it's so clear that people personalize leadership. Those votes do not amount to anybody. Who does their vote count? So why are you deceiving yourself about vote? The point is, if people are interested, the president is the person who shares these things the way he likes. If he likes your face, they will allocate some things to you. I was, I followed this road. I went to 2 conferences this October. One in Makode, one in Lokoja. And these roads were terrible. Even though some portions of it, especially in the Makode and Enugu axis, are under construction. But I was asking myself, why should a nation allow itself, their infrastructures, especially road infrastructures, to decay to this point before they start working on it? It is terrible. And it's not as if we don't have revenue here and there. So for me, those things you are talking about, developments, what do you even call development? So the indices and the index of development is determined by the personalization of power in this place. That's why I said any zone that gets its presidency the way it looks, you see them start moving. Their own area will start developing, and this is what has been going on. So I'm not a pessimist. I'm very optimistic that this place called Nigeria might, once it goes through its full cycle of pains as it is going on, one guy was saying that it appears that most African presidents enjoy inflicting pains on their citizenry, because when you look at these things, you'll be surprised. But I don't share that idea, but it appears that the pains are too much on the citizenry. And development, like I said, the way it is going, it's only when you become president you allocate resources the way you like to your people. Even though I'm sure that no Igbo man will do that kind of thing, because the Igbo man is more metropolitan in his mindset. But see all the other presidents that we have had, they tried to develop their own zones, And that's why I think it was United Nations, UNDP that time, said that Buhari told them clearly to be developing Northwest and the North. So he's a journalist. If you Google it, you see it. So he responded. Because of that way, because they don't see Nigeria as their own. If all these people look at all of us as brothers, look at what Buhari was doing, developing Chad, Niger. And when they asked him, he said that they are his relations. And you, who are down here, who he believes you are not his relations, how will he develop your own area. So these things are what we must tell ourselves the truth, because that's the thing. It's only truth that can save us. So, but if we are lucky, the prayer Nigerians should do and work for it is to get leaders who are, really patriotic, who see Nigeria as their own and not from the ethnic divide. Then we will get better. But if it is as it is, the only way people can develop here is when you get somebody from your zone. He gets into power, he starts putting some things in your own area. So that is it.
All right. One more question before I ask you the final one out of the script. Prof, we are talking about Enugu State. There are many analysts who have the view that Governor Peter Mba, decamping from PDP, given the dynamics of Enugu State politics from 2000 to date, that's what he has done by moving to APC is a political suicide.
I have told you that politicians are interested in winning election. It is no suicide, anything. He wants to win election. And he sees glimmer of hope and chances, better chances in APC. Why not he go there to get his second term? That's the point. So anybody who is saying he has committed suicide may not see. I don't know what is pursuing him. I don't know the challenges he has, but I know that he wants to win second term. And that's why he has joined the bandwagon. And there's always this bandwagon effect, in doing those type of things. So for me, everybody is entitled to his or her own opinion, but I don't think this is suicidal. I don't think so.
All right. Prof, finally, before I let you go, with the alignments, defections, realignments, and everything, what do you think is the chance of Peter Obi come 2027?
I don't know. But what I can say is that in my own assessment, Obi is amongst the so-called gladiators. Obi appears to be the one who understands most what is required for Nigeria to get better. And if it were in climes where people follow what is for the best interest of the people, we should win. But the fundamental thing I raised before is who counts this vote? You can do all your voting and then the votes are dumped and another thing is written and all those type of things. So until we get it right, that the process of institutional appointment of those in Aneke gets better and is removed from the president and cannot be fired by the president. Don't you know that if INEC chairman decides to do otherwise, he can be fired? And if he's fired, he might be blackmailed into a lot of things, So the process of appointment, the process of duty, and all these things are not, I don't think it guarantees who wins, who the people votes, and all those types. There are more things than the ordinary eye sees. So I think that P2B is, in my own assessment, the most appropriate person. But the things here, let's see how it goes.
All right. On that note, this year we'll draw the curtain today on the insight, and we've been speaking to Professor J.C. Chidozie Chukwu Okolo, a professor of philosophy and philosophy of development, Ebonyi State University, Abakaliki. Prof, it's been a pleasure listening to you deflect hypotheses and raise awareness why we need to shift to ideological politics and citizens' awareness. It's a real pleasure, Prof. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me and the audience. I am challenging all of us to be more citizen conscious. Thank you.
All right. But do remember that on the inside, your opinion, our audience, matters to us. So do remember to reach us with the hashtag The Insight, all at Aneke TV on Facebook, X, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. To come your way same time tomorrow. I remain your host, Uche Osai. Bye-bye.
Depression is more than sadness. It is a medical condition that affects thoughts, emotion, and daily functioning. Many people struggle silently, masking their pains with smiles or business. This silence often makes the battle harder. Recognizing symptoms like fatigue, isolation, and loss of interest is an important first step. Depression is not a sign of weakness. It is a health challenge that requires care and understanding. Just like any illness, it deserves proper attention. Help exists through therapy, medication support groups, and open conversations. When society treats mental health seriously, more people find the courage to seek help. No one should suffer alone. Compassion can save lives.
In a world that never stands still, where stories break in seconds and moments shape history, one station keeps you connected to your nation, to the continent, to the world.
From breaking news to powerful stories, from business and politics to culture, lifestyle and entertainment, we inform, we inspire, we keep you ahead.
This is more than television. This is your window to everywhere that matters.
Aneke TV. Move with the world. Where safety matters and vigilance saves lives.
Information is power. Awareness is protection.
From our streets to our homes, from local communities to national security. Security Watch brings you timely reports, expert analysis, and trusted updates on security issues that matter to you.
Stay alert. Stay informed. Stay safe.
Security Watch. Every week only on Aneke TV.
Every second, the world changes. Markets rise. Leaders speak. Stories unfold. To keep up, you don't just need news. You need clarity. You need speed. You need perspective.
That's why Aneke TV brings you the global pulse. Accurate, reliable, right when it matters most. Aneke TV. Move with the world. Good afternoon and welcome to news across the country on Aneke TV. I'm Good Hope Chukuma. Headlines. President Tinubu, Nigeria has survived economic challenges governors no longer borrow to pay salaries. Sultan of Sokoto urges responsible speech to preserve national unity. Details of the news. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has said Nigeria has overcome major economic challenges under his administration, noting that state governors no longer rely on bank loans to pay salaries. The president made the remarks on Monday while hosting religious and traditional leaders for an interfaith breaking of the fast at the presidential villa, Abuja. He reiterated his commitment to sustaining economic growth and national prosperity. President Tinubu assured Nigerians that his administration would prevent agents of instability from undermining the country's peace, unity, and sovereignty. He emphasized the crucial roles of religious and traditional leaders in guiding moral and social stability in communities. The Etsu Nupe, His Royal Highness Yahya Abubakar, expressed gratitude for the inclusive gathering, which he said symbolized national unity. He prayed for divine guidance, protection, and the continued success of President Tinubu's leadership. Lagos State Commissioner of Police Olohundare Jimo has warned officials overseeing the screening of constable applicants to uphold absolute fairness and integrity. He made the statement during a high-level meeting in Ikeja on Monday. Jimo emphasized that the credibility of the nationwide recruitment of over 50,000 new officers depends entirely on following the approved guidelines. Screening teams include representatives from the Police Service Commission and the Federal Character Commission. The commissioner highlighted that the exercise is completely free and cautioned applicants against fraudsters, promising to influence results for a fee. Candidates must present valid national identity numbers, NIN, O-level certificates, and local government origin papers. Jimo further stressed that all successful applicants must adhere strictly to scheduled time slots and log into the official portal. He reaffirmed the Lagos State Command's commitment to a zero-fraud environment throughout the recruitment process. Kwara State has installed advanced solar energy systems in 13 public hospitals to ensure uninterrupted electricity for critical medical services. The initiative was announced by the State Hospitals Management Board. 6 major facilities, including general hospitals in Umuaran and Shari, received 30 kVA solar inverter systems, while 7 cottage hospitals were outfitted with 10 kVA units. The move aims to eliminate life-threatening risks from power outages. Governor Abdul Rahman Abdul Razak's administration said the project will reduce dependence on expensive fossil fuels and the unstable national grid. A 24/7 power supply will support laboratory services, maternity wards, and vaccine cold chain storage. Dr. Abdul Rahim Malik, Executive Secretary of the State Hospitals Management Board, described the development as a long-term investment in climate-friendly, resilient healthcare infrastructure for all Kwara residents. Residents of Potiskum, Yobe State, have raised concerns over the prolonged abandonment of the Accident and Emergency Unit at the Potiskum Specialist Hospital. The project, reportedly sponsored by National Assembly member Honorable Fatima Tauba, has stalled for years. Community members and healthcare workers say the lack of a functional emergency unit forces families to transport critical ill patients to distant towns, delaying urgent care. The situation poses significant risk in a town known for frequent highway accidents. Medical staff report difficulty providing life-saving care due to the absence of a trauma unit. Neighborhoods also fear the abandoned structure may misuse it as a hideout for criminal activity. Residents also continue to appeal to the relevant authorities and the sponsoring lawmaker to complete the project. They urge the government to transform the building into functional emergency facilities to save lives in Potiskum and surrounding areas. Abia State Governor Dr. Alex Oti has congratulated his predecessor, Dr. Okezi Bazo, on his appointment as Nigeria's ambassador to Spain. The statement was released on Monday. Governor Oti described the appointment as a key opportunity for Ibazu to advance Nigerian interest on the international stage. He also expressed personal appreciation to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for selecting an Abia son for high-profile diplomatic role. Dr. Oti called on the federal government to provide necessary resources and logistical support to ensure the success of Ibazu and other Nigerian envoys abroad. The former governor is preparing to relocate to Madrid, marking a significant transition from local governance to international diplomacy. Governor Oti wished Ibazu a fruitful tenure in his new role. Police in Ebonyi State have arrested a suspect believed to be the mastermind behind the abduction and murder of Eze Francis Igwe, traditional ruler of Ndufu Alikik Autonomous Community in Ikwo local government area. A statement by the police public relations officer, Mr. Joshua Okando, confirmed the arrest of Stephen Mwazungu in Ikwo following surveillance operations. The suspect had reportedly led police to multiple hideouts. The police recovered one SMG rifle, a pump-action rifle, 3 locally made Beretta pistols, 11 rounds of N9mm live ammunition, 10 live cartridges, a machete, a shovel, and assorted shams. Another suspect previously arrested assisted in tracing the weapons. Police assured the public that investigations are ongoing. Officers said all individuals connected to the crime will be apprehended and brought to justice. Members of the Association of Enugu Ezike Herbalists in Igboeze North local government area of Enugu State have taken an oath to practice herbal medicine responsibly and reject involvement in criminal activities such as ritual killings and aiding armed robbery or kidnapping. The oath was administered by human rights lawyer Ejikeme Odumegu during the cultural festival known as Emume Jiafo in Enugu Ezike. He emphasized that the action was necessary to curb emerging social vices linked to misuse of traditional medicine. Odumegu said the association had resolved to strengthen regulation of herbal practice within the community, adding that anyone wishing to practice herbal medicine in Enugu Ezike must be registered and properly profiled by the association. Religious leaders, including John Eze of the Assemblies of God Church and Stanley Ugu, parish priest of St. Paul Parish, Umopu, commended the initiative, describing it as a proactive step toward discouraging ritual crimes and promoting ethical herbal practice. You're watching Aneke TV news across the country. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all at Aneke TV. Now, a quick reminder of major developments in the news. Tinubu, Nigeria has overcome economic challenges. Governors no longer borrow for salaries. Coming up shortly, Sultan of Sokoto calls for a responsible speech to protect national unity. We'll be right back. Where safety matters and vigilance saves lives.
Information is power. Awareness is protection.
From our streets to our homes, from local communities to national security. Security Watch brings you timely reports, expert analysis, and trusted updates on security issues that matter to you.
Stay alert. Stay informed. Stay safe.
Security Watch, every week only on Aneke TV. You're welcome back. The Sultan of Sokoto Alhaji Saad Abubakar has called on Nigerian leaders and citizens to prioritize responsible speech to maintain national stability. The monarch made the appeal following his return from the Umrah pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia. Alhaji Abubakar emphasized that fostering mutual respect and avoiding inflammatory rhetoric are essential for Nigeria's security and social cohesion. He urged government officials to guide the public toward communication that respects all faiths and ethnicities. During his spiritual exercise in Makkah, the Sultan prayed specifically for the safety and resilience of Nigeria's Muslim community. He expressed satisfaction with citizens' peaceful conduct despite national challenges. The Sultan also lauded traditional and religious leaders for their collaborative efforts in maintaining order and religious harmony during Ramadan, reaffirming his commitment to a united Nigeria. The Lagos state government has issued a 4-month ultimatum to residents of state-owned housing estates to remove illegal extensions and unauthorized structures. The directive targets violations that distort original master plans, including those at Ojokoro Estate, Miran. Permanent Secretary, Minister of Housing, Abdul Hafiz Toriola, warned that demolition will commence once the grace period expires. Officials said unapproved development compromised infrastructure, public safety, and environmental balance. Some homeowners claimed prior permissions for modifications. However, the Lagos State Building Investment Company refuted these claims, confirming no authorizations exist. A residents' association welcomed the government enforcement drive, describing it as necessary to restore the aesthetics and structural integrity of public housing. The initiative aims to upgrade security and preserve planned community standards. The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, has issued more than 100,000 airport access cards as part of a push to digitize payments. FAN Managing Director Lubimi Kuku said 62,000 cards were processed in 3 days to meet the cashless mandate. The rollout, which began March 1st, caused massive traffic gridlock at Lagos and Abuja airports, leaving passengers stranded. In response, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu ordered toll gates open for free passage over the past 5 days. Eyewitnesses reported smoother traffic flows while FAN officials worked to implement an efficient digital system. Aviation Minister Festus Keyamo said the government remains committed to a cashless future, but the current system is temporarily suspended. FAN continues to strategize a user-friendly solution to nationwide implementation, with balancing digital innovation with operational efficiency at major airports. The federal government has launched an emergency intervention to protect Nigeria's rice industry amid a surge in smuggling. Minister of State for Industry, Trade,